All right, guys, finally it's time for us to talk about packages, and I'm gonna show you how you can make our coffee engine into a CMake package so that the consumers of coffee, consumers of coffee engine can actually use it like this, right? Okay, so currently what we were doing just earlier is we were building every single thing from source. We're kind of including all the source files right here, and then linking the targets like this. This will work, right? But again, this is not a very feasible option for consumers, because like if they have to build everything from source, it's gonna get annoying real quick, and not everybody wants to do that. In fact, most people never want to do that. They just want to link to the precompiled binaries that we provide. So we're gonna have to provide that option now, right? We did that earlier, and we were able to provide binaries, and then they were able to do they were able to link to the engine this way, right? They were able to manually mention where everything is, and like they can mention like where they can find the library files. I mean the static or dynamic library files, and then binary files. And they can also like link directly to the location that they find, and then they can link to GLW or whatever, right? But then to link to GLW, they need to find package. Oh, because we added Vulkan loader as well, they have to like find the package Vulkan loader, and they have to do all that, which is like not acceptable. Like, why would they need to know everything about the external third-party library, and then why would they need to manually add all that, right? That is the worst thing ever. You should never let them do that, right? So the best thing to do is to give them an option to do this, right? They can just say find package, and I'm gonna say coffee, and then they can just give the keyword called required, and that's it. And then finally, all they need to do is well, I'm actually gonna move this here, and I'm gonna say good this time, good, because this is a good way to do it, right? And I'm gonna paste this, and yeah, so they can just do find package, and then finally what they can do is like target link libraries, and they can just say game, because game is the target that they made. Game is an executable target, right? So game, and they can link it privately to like the coffee library we made. Remember, like the interface library we made, the coffee, right? They can directly link to this, and they can do it like this. Actually, they can just do it like this. It's the same exact thing. It's just like, I know this might be confusing a little bit, but this is just a way to like group things, right? So if they don't want to link to the coffee interface library directly, they can link to other libraries like what we have, like core and coffee graphics, right? Graphics. I believe I mentioned this earlier already, and just because we're talking about packages, I just kind of want to touch upon that a little bit, and we're going to do this now. So anyway, so they can do this, right? Or they can just like do it like I just showed you. You can just do a coffee like this, and so this is the same exact thing, because we have an interface library called coffee, and it's already linked to core and graphics in an appropriate way. They can just get all the things that they need from here right away, right? So that's it. Two simple lines, and they're all done. They can just compile it, and it'll work. Okay, so for this to work, they need to find something called a config file, which I showed you earlier. I'm going to show it to you again. I'm gonna unhide the install folder, and I'm going to open it, and I'm going to show you what's inside the lib. Earlier, we took a look that Vulkan loader and GLW sort of have these scripts like CMake. I'm going to talk about this shortly. The thing to note here is like Vulkan loader has something called Vulkan loader config, and GLW3 has something called GLW.config, and it also has something like targets, right? So it's got these extra CMake files in a folder like this, like CMake folder, and it's also got like some PC files, right? So what is this all about, right? Because they also made it a package, they're giving us this config to use, right? So when I say find package like this, so well, earlier when we were doing this this bad way, we found the package for GLW, right? So to get this target, to get this exported target, and use it as an imported target in our application, which is the game application. What we were doing to use the CMake target, what we did is we said find package, right? So how does it find the package? It actually looks for this file, right? It looks for this file, right? It looks for a file called glw3 config.cmake. So I think the exact technical way it looks for is like it will convert the package name you specify there in lowercase, and then the word config, and then .cmake, right? I don't think it's lowercase necessarily, because Vulkan loader right here is like clearly not lowercase. But yeah, so it's basically like whatever name you specify with the word config and .cmake. That's the file to look for, right? So this is the file it's looking for. so we're gonna have to provide a file like this so that it can find all the information right there. Okay, let's go back to our engine. Let's go back to our engine, right? I'm gonna comment every single thing here, right? I'm gonna save this in this state right now. And let's try and make our engine a package, right? Okay, so we're gonna go back to the source folder and we're gonna go back to the CML in that, and because this is where we had all the install steps, right? So what we're doing, if you remember, is like we're installing the targets coffee core graphics renderer, and we're also installing the file set called headers, right? Which is the public headers, right? Okay, I'm gonna delete this, so we don't need this. So what I'm gonna do, first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna group these targets, like all of these 4 targets. I'm gonna group it into something called a export set. Like I can just say the word export, and I can give it a name. The convention is to give it the name of the project, and then you can give it you can add target. You can append it with target, right? Targets, right? So basically, like you're just like grouping all of the targets into one set, just like how you can like group a bunch of header files into one file set and name it headers. Similarly, you can also group a bunch of targets and name it like an export set, right? All right, so the next thing you're going to do is you can install these, right? You can install this export set. You can just say export, and you can install the export called coffee targets, and it will export all of the grouped things into an export set, right? So I'm going to show you how that looks like, right? So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a destination. Destination, just like how I think previously when I showed you how to install files, and you can just like mention the destination, you can also mention the destination right here. Again, you can go back to the CMake reference documentation and see the actual install commands, like all the signatures for the install commands. So for export, it's like this. You can provide a destination, and so okay, I'm gonna have to talk to you something about install, right? So installation, like we've seen many times before. Usually, if you don't provide a prefix path, it's going to install all of the install stuff you specify in your CML files. It's going to install all that in the consumer's system folders, right? Just like how we have seen before, it installs stuff into like /user/local or /user like these system directories, and if you specify the prefix, it will install them into the specified prefix path, right? Like the install folder right here, right? So we've been all this while we've been installing in a custom folder like this, right? Okay, so because like we don't know ahead of time where it's gonna install, we're gonna have to rely on some of the CMake's like CMake's variables that are provided to us that we can use. So these variables we've been using like we used a couple of them already. Like if you remember, like if you go back to the root file, I think we had, yeah, so CMake current source directory, right? We also use CMake source directory as well, right? We all these variables that start with CMake, they're available to us. And there's also something called cache variables. I told you before. I'm going to talk about them later. I mean, they are kind of important. So according to me, the best position for them in this video to talk about like CMake cache variables in this video is to talk about them when we're like doing the finishing. Like, I mean, we're almost at the end here, but like we can use something called CMake presets, and like we can group everything. Like we can write all the commands in a bash file, and then we can put all the options in the presets, and then it makes sense for me to like talk about all these CMake cache variables. But by now, I think you might have already understood. Like it's not that complicated. It's just like CMake will provide you some predefined variables that you can use, that you can read and write to, right? So in most cases, you don't really have to write to them, and it's not recommended to like actually write to those CMake variables, but you can read from them, right? So like I told you before, the CMake current source directory will give you the path to wherever this is written in, right? So this one's written in here, coffee CMake list.txt. So this is where we're in right now. So CMake current source directory will resolve to like this folder, coffee. Okay. So if this were written in this file, like inside the source file, this would resolve to like source folder, right? So that's how it works. And similarly, when we're installing, we can specify the destination, and we can get the path to wherever wherever CMake decides to install these folders into a folder called, into a variable called something like CMake install lib directories or something. CMake install libdir. I think this is CMake install libdir is what I should mention here. All right. Yeah. So I'm saying like export, like install the export into this destination, which is like CMake _ install _ libdir. So, okay, what does this resolve to? Like, what does this variable resolve to? Again, I'll talk about cache variables in detail in just a moment, but just to show you like what happens, this is going to resolve to the lib folder, right? To the lib folder wherever CMake decides to install. Okay, I'm gonna finish this, and I'm gonna compile, and I'm gonna show you what happens in this, right? So it's gonna say this, and I'm gonna put CMake and / I'm gonna give it a name coffee, right? So there's a reason why I'm giving this. So if you like, if you're confused about it, just wait for 1 minute. Okay, so I'm gonna delete the install folder right here. I'm gonna delete the build folder right here, and I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna build it, right? I'm gonna say source files are right here and build this in the build folder, build this in the build folder, and it did. It finished the step, right? All right, I'm gonna clear this and I'm gonna actually compile. Oh my god, actually compile. So CMake build build. So it's building everything now. Remember, like again, we're building it from the engine, not the game. Remember previously we were doing it from the game application, because previously we were building everything from the source, like game app and then game engine app and all the dependency repositories that we installed. We were all like building it with add subdirectories, and we were building everything all together, right? So right now what we're trying to do is we're trying to like make this a package so that the engine stuff can be like packaged, and the consumers like game can find it with find package, right? All right, so let's okay, so it built it, and let's go back and let's install it, right? CMake install and build, and I'm going to provide the prefix. I'm going to say I'm going to go back one folder and I'm going to say the same thing, install. It says file cannot create directory, CMake coffee. Oh, okay. So, all right. So there's one little thing that I forgot to mention. We have to like include something called GNU installer. So this is a module, right? I'm going to talk about like modules later. So basically what you can do is like you can just, you can install. All right. So let me talk about like the CMake scripts, right? So just like how, you can include some other files in C++ with include header file format, like, you know, hash include, and you can specify the header file. You can also do the same thing here. This is basically like a module system where you can import and export stuff. And the way you can do it is like, let me show you an example first. Okay, I'm going to comment this out, right? I'm going to comment this out, and I'm gonna make a folder called CMake here. Okay, I'm gonna make a folder called CMake, right? So this is in the coffee folder. Okay, pay attention to the directory we're in. We're in the coffee folder, and I'm gonna make a file called CMake, and I'm gonna add something called coffee config.cmake, right? So the thing with like, so this is actually needed in the future. Like I'm just gonna talk about this. So you can name it whatever you want. You can just say like print hello.cmake and it will work, right? Print hello.cmake and it will work. I'm gonna open this print hello, and I'm gonna write a very simple thing. I'm gonna say message. I'm gonna say hello. That's what it's gonna print. Okay, so it's just gonna print hello, right? I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna include it, right? I'm gonna include that file. Include. I'm gonna say include. Sorry, include. What's that? Where is that file? I think it's right here. Oh, it's just right here. CMake. Well, where are we? I think this is here. So I'm gonna have to go back one folder and in there. Okay. CMake. I'm gonna say print hello.cmake, right? So what it's gonna do is basically gonna copy this thing into here, right? Into this. That's basically what it is. It's just like a module system, all right? So to show you like that's what it is, I'm just gonna compile this again. All right, so look at this. It says hello, right? It says hello because it's bringing in all the lines from this file and it's pasting it here. So that's how it works, all right? So I'm gonna delete this. I'm gonna delete the print hello CMake. I'm gonna keep this, right? I'm gonna keep this because I need this in the future, right? I mean, just like in probably like a few minutes, because I'm going to talk about that very soon. Just like that, this is also another include, and we have so this variable is not available by default. It's only available if you include this, right? So if you include this, it's available. And this basically what it's saying is like if I go to the install folder, I think the install did not work correctly, so I'm going to install it again. I'm gonna install things again. I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna build. Right? And I'm gonna install it now. Did I save this properly? I think I did. So I'm gonna install now. Okay, now it worked correctly. So I'm gonna go back to the install folder, right? And I'm gonna take a look at the lib folder, sorry. And inside the lib folder, it made a folder called CMake, and it made a folder called coffee, right? So right next to all these other folders, right? So Vulkan Loader also is a package, remember? So it also, when we installed Vulkan Loader, it also made this file, and GLW also made this file. So we're also making this file. What does it contain? It contains coffee-targets.cmake. So let's take a look at this. Let's take a look at this and open. So there's a bunch of stuff in here. There's a bunch of stuff about targets, right? Don't worry what's inside that, because like When we're going to use it, it's going to make sense, right? But the important thing to note is like we're exporting a CMake script file, right? So we're exporting a file that they can use, like somebody who wants to link to, somebody who wants to use our library, coffee library, they can use this file, right? So this is for people who are using our library and not for us, right? So that's why we're copying this. That's why we're copying the exports into this like weird folder, CMake install, and we're copying it to wherever CMake installs all the libraries, right? Wherever CMake installs all the libraries, which is this lib folder right here, right? So, okay, so I think it's time for me to like go back and open the CMake documentation, and I'm gonna open the tutorials, right? I'm gonna open CMake tutorial, and if I go down and if I open the installation commands and concepts, so I have to show you like, okay, okay, this translation, moving artifacts from the source and build trees into a final layout suitable for consumption is known as installation, right? It's just moving a bunch of files from the source and build trees into the installation folders, right? So CMake supports a complete installation workflow as a part of blah, 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 all of this. You can read this, like you can go through the tutorials. I highly recommend you guys to go through the tutorials if you have time, right? But we've covered most of it already in this video, and we're going to cover some more of it in the rest of this video, right? But still, I highly recommend to go through the tutorials, right? But anyway, so the important thing I wanted to show here is like, okay, CMake divides target-based installation into various artifact kinds. The available artifact kinds are archive, library, runtime, object, and framework, bundle, and all of this, right? So archive basically are static libraries and import libraries, right? Library is shared libraries and dynamically loadable objects and not Windows DLL files, right? Runtime are DLL files and things like this, right? Object libraries, we haven't talked about object libraries yet, but I'm going to show you what object libraries are and how they differ from static libraries, because I think they're useful. Yeah, I'm going to show it to you. Don't worry about this, right? So framework and bundle and all this, and file set, right? There's also like something called file set, an artifact kind called file set, and you can install a file set. In fact, we've already been using this, right? We said install targets. All of these are archives. Like I think these are these will fall under libraries and archives and libraries, right? And file set falls under file sets, right? All right, so yeah, I wanted to talk to you guys about like all of these things, and you can also take a look at the install targets command. If you take a look at the install commands, you can like go and take a look at all these signatures, right? Install targets, install exports. Remember, like if you take a look at what we've done here, we said install export, right? And we're exporting the install export, right? And we're exporting the coffee targets export, right? So yeah, so there's a bunch of things you can take a look at. I'll leave that to you. You can read at your own free time. And okay, so the important thing I want you guys to understand is like whenever CMake tries to install, it does so in built-in default folders, right? So because remember, like we did not specify all these lib and include and all these specific folders. Instead, CMake did it by default. It knows all of these conventions and it's doing it by default, right? And okay, if you take a look at the runtime, runtime is basically what they mention here. Runtime is executables of all kinds, right? Executables as in like our game was a runtime binary, right? So it installed in bin, right? If you remember, and all the libraries and archives like our static libraries, dynamic libraries, and all those other stuff, it's installing in something called lib, right? And obviously all the header files in include, private header, public header, file sets. They're all in include folders, right? And you saw that many times, right? Include, lib, right? And there's also something called share, right? It installed in something called share, right? I think that's a specific thing that Vulkan did. I don't know. Yeah. So like there's things here that you can take a look. And then the thing I wanted to show you was this, right? We're using this variable CMake install libdir right here, right? Or if you go back, and we're using this variable right here. Why? Because like when CMake tries to install, we don't know ahead of time where it's going to install. We can't just like say, oh, do it relative to this folder, do it relative to some other folder or something like that. We cannot say that. So that's why we need to rely on CMake variables to give us the path, right? And this is the convention. The convention is to like paste all the script files into this, right? And yeah, so that's what we're doing right here. We're installing the targets, and the targets is basically like a script file that has all this stuff, right? Like it has all this stuff, right? So yeah, so after we export, this is going to be used by whoever like does the find package, and CMake is automatically going to use all this stuff we mentioned, right? So if you take a look at the Vulkan loader and glw3, it's got like config and these config.cmake files as well, right? So we're almost there. We just got the targets, and we still have to like provide some configs, right? So I'm gonna close these, right? I'm gonna close these, and I'm gonna make okay, I just already made that, but normally like in coffee folder you can just make CMake, a folder called CMake. That's the convention, and you can give all the script files right here, right? So usually you put all the module files right here, right? So I'm gonna name this coffee config.cmake because that's the convention. Because if you take a look at the others, right? I told you that when somebody does find package, the CMake looks for the name and then config.cmake, right? So that's why we have to provide coffee config.cmake. All right, so so that's why I named it like that, right? And we're gonna have to make sure that it's inside wherever they install this, right? So the way we do it is like we can say install files. We can just use the files command, and we can say where are we right now? We're here, right? Yeah, so we're here, and we can say files, right? Files, and I'm gonna put in something called CMake current source directory, right? Current source directory, and I'm gonna relatively give the path. Current source directory is this one. And we're gonna go back one folder. We're gonna go back one folder, and then it's right there, right? And I'm gonna say CMake coffee config.cmake, and I have to provide the destination. And I'm just gonna copy this. I'm just gonna copy this and paste it. So I'm just like copying this file. I'm just copying this file, and I'm pasting it inside the same include path wherever they decide to install, specifically where they decide to install this, right? The CMake scripts, right? So which is right here. I want this file to go here, just like how Vulkan did it. We're also going to do it the same way. And by the way, I'm not doing this from memory. I mean, I'm doing it currently, but I've read these tutorials, and this is what I'm following. In fact, if I take a look at these assignments, I think they have like little assignments to do. So we did this, remember? Like I said, install targets and include. We did the include GNU directories. Okay, we forgot to specify the namespace. All right, so just like I told you, like how I told you, you can use the namespace. You can mention it right here. You can just say namespace coffee, right? You can just name it with your project's name, right? So because everything in CMake, all the objects in CMake are strings, you can just specify this thing as a string, right? And so what it'll do is like it will group all of these exports into one namespace. So you can use things like this. So I'm going to go back to the game app now. I'm going to open the CML file, and if you take a look at this, we're using it with the namespace. We're not using it directly, but we're using it with the namespace. If you remember with Vulkan, we also did the same thing. Vulkan : and then loader. Vulkan : and then we did headers, right? Yeah, so that's why we use the namespace. I'm going to close the game app now, and we're back to this src file, right? So I just mentioned the namespace right here, like for exports, right? Okay, so yeah, so we copied these things to the destination, which is like here, like I showed you in the install lib folder, right? I'm going to go back and let's come back here. And for reasons that will become more obvious in the future, we typically don't consume this file directly. We have a file like this, and we're going to say include CMake list directory, and we're going to say it like this. Okay, so what they're asking us to do is like they're asking us to put this line inside this file, right? Inside this file. We haven't like actually written any of the CMake stuff in this, right? We're only copying that file, but we haven't written anything in this, right? But right now what they're asking us to do is they're asking us to paste this line, okay, in the config file, right? I'm going to say coffee targets.cmake. So what it's doing, it's saying it's telling them. So it's if you take a look at this, what it's doing is like in this script, what it's saying include this variable, like whatever this resolves to, /coffee targets.cmake. Okay, so all right, so this gives us a hint. This gives us a hint that okay, something is going on. It wants to include this file, right? So but if you remember, that's what we made just now. Like when we install the targets, right? When we install the targets, what did we do? Like when we install the export right here, it made this file, right? It made this file. So when I run the install command again, so when I add this, when I copy this, so it's going to copy this file into this, and what does it contain? It contains something like this, like /coffee, like this. We'll take a look at this, but it contains like an include path. That's it. That's all it contains, right? So I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna finish this. I'm gonna say like install file. This is what we did, like install files CMake. Okay, so we're specifying it relatively to wherever it is, and we're saying destination, and we did the same thing. We did the same exact thing. Okay. And all right, so we did this, and we're just gonna have to like go back and compile again, right? Do you want me to like delete the install? Right, sure, why not? I'm gonna delete this and I'm gonna build everything from scratch again. I'm gonna go back here and I'm gonna repeat the steps, okay? All right, so we did the build step. Sorry, we did the build system step. Now we can build it and we can finally install it, okay? All right, so let's go back and let's take a look at the install folder again. We got the same exact stuff what we had last time. And then let's take a look at the lib folder, right? Because we did a bunch of stuff. We installed a bunch of stuff into the lib folder. Okay, so now let's take a look at the CMake folder that we created, right? So we're going to be expecting these things, right? So we're saying like install this export coffee targets, and it will resolve to coffee targets.cmake file, right? And we're installing it in the libdir CMake and then coffee. This should be there, and it was there last time as well. But this time we're also saying like install this file, like whatever file we have right here, just copy this file into the same folder again. So we're gonna have to like see this here as well. Okay, so we're gonna open this and we do. We're gonna see this file and all it has is this, right? Include CMake current list directory and coffee targets.cmake. Okay. So what we're doing here is like this file is going to be used by the consumers, right? So the consumers will have this and they will in turn use this command, right? And so what it's basically saying is like when compilers use find package, they will have to like include this script, okay? And this script is like some huge CML file, and they will use it, okay? If you didn't understand, don't worry. I'm gonna go back and use it. As always, you'll understand it way better, okay? All right, so let's close this and let's see if there's anything else left to do. We're gonna go back here and we're gonna see build and run. Let's see if there's something else that we have to do. We did this, we did this, we did this as well, we did this as well. So okay, we can export a version file. It's specific to versions. I mean, it's a good practice to do this. So I'm just going to quickly do this. Again, so to do that, I'm just going to copy this. We can just include something again, helper module called CMake package config helpers. And we're going to use that. And that's where this macro comes from. Anyway, okay, I'm going to go back and I'm going to come back here and I'm going to paste it in our CML file. I'm going to close this. I'm going to go back here to the CML file and I'm going to paste this as well. Okay. So include this, fine, and CMake current binary directory. So we're saying write a package version file in the current binary directory. I'm not really sure where this resolves to. Let's find out, right, when we install it. And instead of my project, let's replace this with coffee config version.cmake, right? And compatibility with exact version. You can change it to these things. Any newer version, same major version, and all of these other things. We're using this one currently, okay? All right, so we did this, and then what else? Binary directory. And we finally need to install this as well, okay? So we're gonna go back here and I'm gonna paste this right here. And yeah, it's basically doing the same thing. Instead of this, we're gonna say coffee, and then instead of tutorial config version, we can say coffee config version, right? All right, so because we're using the same exact commands here, like we're putting them into the same exact destination. So what I can do is like I can group them into one single command, right? So what I can do is like I can say this, I can say this, and I can copy this right here, copy this right here, and the destination is the same exact thing. So I can just leave it right here. All right, current source directory, CMake config file. Let me see if I did everything correctly. Yeah, I think everything is right. So I'm going to save this and I'm going to run and install one final time. Build and install. Finally, okay, we did all that. Let's go back to the install and see what it did this time. Okay, so we got coffee config, we got coffee config version.cmake, and we got all of these script files which the consumers can use. Perfect. All right, so let's go back to the game application and actually use these things that we just created. Now I'm going to close this coffee folder. We don't need to like worry about that anymore, except for one thing, which I'm going to come back to. And I'm going to go back and go to the CML file and see if I need to do anything. I'm just going to say find package coffee required, but then I'm going to have to provide a path, right? Because like we're doing it in a custom path. I'm just going to provide a path like this, install, and it will find coffee wherever it needs to, right? All right, so and then we're linking the game to coffee, and it should work, except like we also still need to find these packages that the coffee is using, right? So for example, because this coffee is dependent on core and graphics, that's fine. Coffee will install, like it will find core and graphics by itself because coffee is already linked to it, and it will know the dependencies by itself. But then it doesn't know where GLFW and it doesn't know where Vulkan Loader are located at. So we're gonna have to include them as well. We're gonna have to say find package as well. But I'm gonna show you without doing that. It's gonna give us an error, right? So I'm gonna go back to the game application. I'm gonna do this. Enter. Right. Look at this. It says found error. Okay. So the reason it's complaining, it says it cannot find these targets, right? So it's saying like the following imported targets are referenced but are missing. Like these targets, it cannot find it. So if you take a look at the CML file on the game side, like I'm going to close this, and on the game side, like I said, like okay, I asked it to find package coffee. That's why it found coffee and it did not complain. And I specified the path where to find, and I just said install, and okay, so it took a look at this and it went inside like the install folder, and it went inside the lib. And it knows where to find, right? So because like I specified install, and it knows that usually all the package files are inside the folder called lib, and it went inside CMake, and then it went inside coffee folder and found a file called coffeeconfig.cmake, and it found it. It found the coffee and it opened it, and it sees that, oh, okay, this guy wants me to run this line. This is basically means that I'm including a module, like I'm including something from this file, coffeetargets.cmake, and I'm going to include everything from here, right? Okay, so let's go back and let's talk about this variable, right? I did not actually talk about this variable last time when I was talking about that. So what this variable means is like it's very similar to like the other CMake path variables that we took a look at earlier. So for example, we took a look at CMake _ source _ dir. What that resolved to is like wherever you run the like CMake commands from, that specific root CMake list file, it's gonna find that folder where that CML file is, right? So it's gonna resolve to the path wherever the root CMake file was, right? And we also took a look at CMake current source dir variable, and that resolved to wherever the current CML file was at, right? So if I'm running the commands from the game app, and let's say, okay, I'm going to close this. If I'm running commands from the coffee folder, let's say, like if I'm building coffee, so the root CMake file is this one, and if I want to specify a current CMake current source dir in one of this file, like one of these files, maybe like in this file, if I specify somewhere right here, that's going to resolve to like wherever this CML file is, so the current CMake list file is, like, so this folder basically, so the source folder in this case, in this example, I mean. All right, so I'm going to go back and I'm going to go back to this one, and let's take a look at what this one means, right? So it's going to take a look at this file, and it's going to include this stuff from here, right? How does it know that? Because like I'm saying, I'm mentioning this folder, right? CMake current list dir, and what this resolves to is like it's very similar to CMake current source dir variable, but it's a little bit different in a way that this actually resolves to wherever this this current CMake file is. Like so because we're inside this, it doesn't matter where you run the commands from. It doesn't matter like if you're running it from this source, if you're running it from outside CMake somewhere. It doesn't matter where. When it's like doing the install step, like when it's running the commands, wherever this file is, it's going to resolve to the current exact folder, which in this case is coffee right here, right? So in this case, it's like install lib coffee. This is the folder it's going to resolve to. So basically, it's this folder right here, okay? And we're saying coffeetargets.cmake, which is inside this, and it's going to open this, and it's going to look at this file, right? And it's going to copy all of the contents from here into here, and then it's going to run it, right? So let's take a look at this file actually, what this file contains. And the error, if you remember, it's saying it cannot find DLW, it cannot find all these like targets. That's because like it doesn't know where to find them, right? We specified like in the game app, we specified where to find package, but we did not specify where to find the other libraries, right? Like Vulkan libraries, the Vulkan libraries and DLW, right? But like, so if you do this, like to fix that, you can just like the game developers or like the consumers, they can just do this, right? They can just say find package and GLW3, just like they can just say required, and basically they can provide the same path. Like instead of this, they can just say GLW3, and they can do the same for Vulkan as well. They can just say Vulkan loader, and similarly they can just say headers as well, right? And it will find it, it will work, right? But like as a consumer, how would you know, like why would you bother about like what dependencies my library is dependent on, right? So like as a consumer, I'm saying, okay, find package, I'm gonna find this, and then it says, oh, okay, this coffee library it's dependent on these packages, and it's now okay, somehow it's my responsibility to find them, and so like where should I find them? Like should I go ahead and research them? No, as a consumer, I shouldn't be bothered about these things. So what you're gonna do is like you're gonna like not let the consumer do this sort of thing, because that's a very bad thing to do. Why should the consumer be bothered about what the external libraries dependencies are, right? So what you're gonna do is like you're gonna let them basically do that. Like you're gonna basically let them do this thing, but instead of manually specifying that, like instead of them manually specifying that, they can just like import, like they can just like use a script file, right? So the way we're going to do it is actually very simple. So in this file, right, in this file, we're anyway like we're letting the consumer use this file, right? So what if in this file I'm going to paste all of these commands, right? What if I'm going to paste all of these commands? It's going to work right out of the box, because like when they're trying to like run this file, they're going to include these things, and they're going to find all of these things too. The only thing is that they need to find it before they include this, because otherwise they're not going to be able to find whatever this targets file needs it to find, right? In the target file, if I take a look at search for Vulkan, it's saying like, hey, set target properties, and it's saying like to the renderer, link these libraries, right? It's saying Vulkan loader and Vulkan headers, and yeah, so if it's not going to find them, it's going to print an error message at us, right? So if you take a look at this for each loop, it's saying like, I think it's printing the error message like right here. It's saying like for each target, all of these, if it's not found, then it's gonna print the message, right? So that's what it's doing. So we're gonna find the package here and let it like do the other step right here. Okay, so that's what we're gonna do, and I'm not gonna do it right here. Instead, I'm gonna do it like obviously I'm gonna do it in the folder that we have, like, because as engine developers, we are, as external third-party library providers, we are responsible for our consumers finding all of the things that we depend on, right? So in the CMake file, what we're doing, like if I open this, it's the same exact thing. It's going to include this, and we're going to paste something like this here, right? So the reason we're pasting this here is like, okay, let me like take a step back, and I realize I'm talking a lot, and let's take a step back and let's see what's actually going on here, right? So, okay, just a recap, we're in the source folder, right? We're in the source folder, and we mentioned a couple of install steps. First, we're installing all the targets, and we're linking, like we're grouping all the targets in one export set, like coffee targets, and we're including the install dirs, like which is the default directories. Like maybe like if you want to get these variables resolved, you need to like include this module, and that's what you'll get these variables from. And what we're doing is like we're installing the coffee targets export file, and we're giving it a namespace, and then we're giving the destination CMake and coffee, and that's how it's able to like install in lib. Like, so this CMake install libdir, it will resolve the lib, and inside that we're creating a folder called CMake, and inside CMake we're creating a folder called coffee, and it's installing coffee targets.cmake. This is the file that we're installing here, right? Okay, now we're installing something called we're including a module called CMake package config helpers, which will give access to this macro basically. So this macro, what it says is like it's writing a basic version file. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily worry about this, because like this is related to versions. Like if you want to like exactly match the version, if you want your consumers to exactly match the versions that you provide, because like versions are a very huge thing. Like your new versions can introduce some breaking changes to the previous versions. So you want to be able to like convey that information to your consumers, saying that, hey, we updated our versions, and now the thing that you're trying to use is not going to be working with the exact version, that the older version that you're working with, so please update this version, something like that, right? So you need to like specify version specific information, and that's what you're doing it right here. I'm not really sure what exactly is going on here, but I'm just like copying it from the tutorial source, right? It's just a good practice, and that's what we're doing here. It's just writing the basic config file, right? In the current binary directory, it says, so basically current binary directory resolves to like the build folder, I guess, right? If I go to this folder, no, if I go to like the source folder, and this is where it is, like this is going to write this, and eventually it's going to copy that to this lib directory, right? So I'm gonna close this build directory, and we're copying that here, version file here. We're also copying this coffee config.cmake file as well, right? CMake and this one, right? So current source directory, which is this one, right? This is the source directory that we're dealing with. And okay, I haven't talked about this current source directory as well. Okay, so we talked about the CMake current source directory before. So CMake's current source directory is resolves to wherever this current CMake file is at, CML file is at, and that CML file is right here, which is this folder right here. So we're going back one step, and we're finding the CMake, and then we're copying this one. We're copying this file and this file to the CMake coffee folder, to the installed lib directory, and inside the CMake folder, and inside the coffee folder, which is right here. Right, so we're copying it right here, and we're also copying the config version here as well. Okay, all right, so this is what we're doing right here, and The reason we're doing it is because we're not going to be using these files right away. Like these two files, we copied them, but as engine developers, we don't need them. We're just providing the consumers some scripts so that they can use them and they can run whatever we want them to run, right? So that they don't have to do like manually do find package or find whatever on their end. All they need to do is just mention find package coffee, and that's it, and link the coffee stuff to their targets. That's it. That's all they're supposed to do. And so when they find the package, it's automatically going to run all these scripts like coffee config and coffee version, because it's going to find when they say find package coffee, it's going to look for this file and it's going to open this file and it's going to look at this one, right? So finally, what I'm going to do is I'm going to first of all, I'm going to close this, and I'm going to open this so that and I've already added this, but like I want to add this so that when they run the install step for our engine, it's going to copy all the config files that I just mentioned into their respective folders, right? All right, so it's going to copy this file as well. So I'm going to mention find package. So I want to find JW3, but the only thing is paths. How do I mention paths, right? This is going to have to resolve before the install step happens. It's going to resolve at configuration stage. Remember, I told you CMake has 4 stages: configuration stage, generation stage, and then build step, and then install step. Build step and install step, we're doing it like we can do it with other commands as well. But yeah, so during the configuration step, it's going to have to resolve this path. So what you do right here is you cannot just say like back and install. It might not work because you don't know where exactly that is, but you know the structure, right? And that's exactly why you're using this keyword. You're using this keyword like whenever someone runs the scripts, like whenever someone uses this file, it's going to resolve to wherever this file is, right? This current coffeeconfig.cmake file is at, right? So I can just copy this from here. I can just copy this, and I can just use this inside this as well, right? So what this is going to resolve to is like this folder right here. If I open lib, and this is where we're going to find this file, because remember, like it's going to copy from here to here, right? So when the CMake when the consumers run the CMake commands, this variable is going to have the value of this folder, right? So this coffee folder, this specific coffee folder right here. And okay, so we're here, and we can say go back one folder, which is like the CMake right here, and we can also say go back another folder. So we're in lib now, and then we can say go back another folder, and now we're in install, right? So we're in the root folder, and then it can do all that stuff it needs to find whatever it's looking for. In this case, we're finding the packages, right? So we can copy this, and we can paste the same exact thing here, and we don't need to worry about this. We can copy this again, and we're gonna paste it here as well, right? We're gonna paste it here as well. Okay, perfect. So we use this, and now it should technically work. And sorry, I made a mistake. I was editing this file. I shouldn't be editing this file. Instead, I should be editing this file, right? All right, so I pasted this here, and I'm actually gonna delete this install folder again, right? I'm gonna delete this install folder. So I made my correction. All I did is like I changed this folder path to like I added find package, and I changed the folder paths to wherever the install commands would go, right? Where the install config files would go, right? Relative to that, okay? I added a find package command, and I specify all the dependencies that it needs to find, and I specified the paths where it needs to find them, like relative to where the config files are at, right? So instead of doing find package, there's another command that is like really useful, a macro more specifically. It's called find dependencies. It's the same exact thing. It's just a wrapper macro around find package. And if I go to the documentation, and if I search for find underscore dependency CMake, and if I click this, right, and it says like I have to include this. Okay, I'll include this, copy, and I'm gonna paste this, and I'm gonna come back, and I'm gonna say this module is designed to be used in package configuration file, package name config.cmake, which is exactly what we're doing, right? We're using it in this file, right? This package name and config and CMake, right? Okay, perfect. We're using it right here, and we're gonna do the macro right here. So the signature is like this: find dependency name, and then whatever arguments you pass to the find package, it's just gonna do the same thing, right? I'm not entirely sure what's the difference. What exactly is the difference between find dependency and find package? But when I was doing the tutorials and when I was reading stuff, I found that this is a better way to do things. So I'm just gonna replace. I'm just gonna say package with dependency, find dependency. Yeah, find dependency. I'm gonna hit enter. I'm gonna save this, right? So I edited this file, and when I install, it should copy all that stuff to install folders, right? So I'm gonna go back to the engine. I'm gonna build things again, I'm gonna build things again, build, and I'm gonna install please, install please, install. Okay, we installed it, and we're gonna come back and we're gonna take a look at this, include lib. It's got like the CMake, and we're gonna take a look at this file. Okay, so now it's updated with the paths that we specified. Again, we're specifying the path to this one, right, to the install folder. Let me double check. So the first, it's gonna find, we're in this folder, like CMake current list directory resolves to this folder, and we're going back one folder, which means we're in this folder now, and we're going back another folder, we're in lib now, and we're going back to another folder, install, right? So I'm taking them back to this install folder. The reason I'm doing it this way relatively is because I don't know where they're going to be installing, and but I know for a fact that I'm like in the install structure, all the other libraries are somewhere inside the install folder, right? So I'm just taking them back to the install folder. Perfect. Okay, save. Okay, so you might be wondering, why can't I just use this command, right? Like CMake, I showed you, like CMake install how you say, like what was that command? Libdir, right? Libdir, remember? Libdir. This one resolves to, like did I show you? Like if I go back, yeah. So in the installation commands and concepts, I told you that CMake provides us with these folders, right? This, and this, right? So, but then we could be using this to directly like specify the include folder or whatever, right? The lib folder or whatever, right? The reason we're not doing this is because like this is only available to us during the installation stage. Remember, I told you like CMake goes through 4 stages: configuration, generation, build, and install. We're not at the install stage yet. It's going to have to find the dependencies while building the engine, right? During the configuration stage, it has to find these dependencies. So it's not available for us, right? So this is the only thing that's available for us. So we can use this, right? I can just save this, and I'm going to go back and I compile this. I'm going to compile the game again. Okay, so this time it did generate the build system, so I'm gonna actually build it, right? We got the target game, and now we can install it, right? Build, install, and we can install this. Okay, perfect. It installed the game. Like if we take a look at this, we have a bin folder and we have the game. If we go back here, we're gonna clear, and we're gonna say game. Okay, I'm gonna have to do this. Sometimes the cache doesn't work. Okay, I'm gonna have to do game. Okay, we got our beautiful window right here, and we got the message welcome init. Okay, perfect. We finally installed our engine in a package format, and now all the engine developers had to do was to just use our binaries and then just do this, right? I'm gonna paste this. I'm gonna paste this here. I'm gonna delete this, and I'm gonna mention a comment. I'm gonna say or, right? Okay, so they can just use the binaries in the option 1 right here, and they can just say find package, and they can specify the path to where the package is if it's in a custom folder, like if they're if they're adding a prefix to the install path, and they can just use this, right? They can just link to the coffee library, and it would work. All right, so see how simple this was. They didn't have to like specify any manual commands or anything like that. All right, perfect. So we did this package thing. Now let's talk about CMake cache variables, and now let's talk about CMake presets. And we're going to talk about like if-else statements, how you can like specifically target some specific platforms. And then finally, we're going to talk about cross compilation. We're gonna make separate folders for Linux and for Windows, and you can build for Windows machines as well, right? So yeah, that's all that's left to do. And all right, I'll stop talking, and then let's jump into cache variables now.